BBL baddies are an early form of transhumanism.
So by popular demand, I've written the essay, BBL Baddies and the Birth of Soft Transhumanism. So I was reading a book by the anthropologist Tom Belsdorf called Coming of Age in Second Life. He spent over 2 years living with residents of the virtual world in Second Life, doing field work as he would in a real-life ethnographic site. One quote stood out to me from this book: "Virtual worlds do not lead to an erasure of the human. As one Second Life resident observed, a virtual world can act as another platform for the human operating system. They do, however, transform what being human can mean, recalling how we have used our relationships with technology to reflect on the human." And then after reading this quote,
let's talk about the ritual that Teyana Taylor allegedly just pulled at the 2025 BET Awards. So y'all saw that robotic performance, right? That wasn't just art. That was like literally transhumanism in plain sight. AI, tech goddess programming, machine-coded femininity. And Beyonce has been on that wave since her Renaissance tour, and now Tiana's copying the blueprint. Notice how she wore a full men's suit, just like Taraji P did not too long ago. And it's not fashion, it's symbolism. Masculinizing Black women is a tactic.
In Fritz Sand's 1927 film Metropolis, the robot Maria is not just a prop, she's an ideological lightning rod, built to impersonate a real woman. Her purpose is to sow disorder among workers by exploiting desire, superstition, and the uneven distribution of power. The robot becomes a spectacle, a manufactured identity, a tool of control. When we look at modern performers like Beyoncé and Teyana Taylor, we see a curve of this. Their public personas, alter egos, and hyper-choreographed performances function as engineered spectacles. These performances captivate and direct the masses, much like Maria did in Metropolis, Beyoncé's use of visual albums.
So I thought of Edward Skeletrix's music video Plastic Bodies. He deserves his own essay on posthumanism. The first lyric, "Plastic body on me, I can't feel you," and later, "Man, F it, put the BBL on her will." It clicked. I remembered the Weeknd's plastic surgery arc and the Too Late video where two women fresh out of surgery decapitate him and take his head home to find a matching body. And it all got me thinking about how aesthetics are shaped across a digital physical divide. And as I said in my video, aesthetic and identity... That bird is loud. As I said in my video, aesthetic and identity augmentation might be one of the earliest ways our virtual identities have started merging with our physical bodies. If you're surgically altering your offline self to match your online self, you've become an aesthetic operating system. And these avatars are now templates, just how you can select a body type on Dress to Impress or IMVU. People are beginning to do that in real life. And those templates aren't completely drawn from nature. They're shaped, circulated, and optimized by algorithms. Our bodies become a download. And another moment in Tom Belsdorf's book stood out. A Second Life resident named Tandy told him there was no way to make mirrors in the game at the time. The book was published in 2008, which made Belsdorf reflect on the meaning of a world without reflections. He wrote that he was struck by a culture that did not prioritize simulating or mirroring reality, but assumed human creativity produced its own realities. This was before hyperreal avatars, photoreal filters, and the algorithmic gaze. Since then, we've developed mirrors in virtual worlds, but more significantly, we've become the mirrors. In Lacanian psychoanalysis, the mirror stage is when a child first identifies with their reflection, a moment of seeing oneself as both subject and object. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram are now our mirrors, except that they're far from neutral. They're filtered, feedback-driven, and curated for virality. We don't just see ourselves anymore, we perform into the mirror and let the algorithm reflect something back, something that reshapes how we look, think, and feel. These are not reflections, they're projections, and we adapt our bodies to match them. This shift from a world without mirrors to one obsessed with them, hyperreal, endlessly reflective, and distorted, is not just technological, it's psychic. We are in the mirror stage, but now the mirror talks back. Think mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Remember how the mirror always told the evil queen they were the fairest? And to be clear, I've seen this in my comments, body modification is not new. Humans have always altered their bodies to reflect ideals, from scarification to corsetry. But what we're seeing now is different. It's not about tradition or subculture. It's about syncing your flesh to a digital template that's constantly evolving based on algorithmic feedback. The imagined body no longer lives in fantasy. It lives in the feed, and this is where things slip into transhumanism. Not in the sense of uploading consciousness to the cloud, but in a softer, more intimate way. You upload your face to a filter, your body to a loop, your identity to a system that optimizes for attention. The mirror no longer reflects who you are, it shows who you could be, and people are reshaping themselves accordingly. The BBL baddie, the Instagram face, the filtered jawline, they're not glitches, they're version updates, mods, upgrades. And this is a form of soft transhumanism, not robotic limbs or neural implants, but algorithm-informed flesh. The dream is not to escape the body, but to perfect it, or to bring it closer to the avatar. In this system, the human OS isn't erased, it's skinned, patched, and revised. And like any system, some versions go viral and others get deprecated. Maybe authenticity no longer means staying true to some fixed inner self, but rather how well you can render your internal fantasy in high definition. Maybe the self has always been modular, but now we have the tools, the templates, and the metrics to prototype it in real time. I still believe online cultural worlds are essential spaces for meaning making and identity, especially for those whose realities have been historically policed or strained. Virtual worlds offer something radical, the chance to imagine being human outside of Eurocentric, patriarchal, or neoliberal frameworks. They let us blur binaries, decenter dominant aesthetics, and try on speculative selves that don't have to obey the rules of the physical world. But as the line between expression and augmentation blurs, we have to ask, are we using these platforms to be more human or more transhuman? And more importantly, how do we use our imagined bodies to build a politics of the virtual? One that sees these spaces not just as sites of self-performance or aesthetic optimization, but of debate, justice, and liberation, a space where we don't just update ourselves, but where we can rewrite the code altogether.
They want to take over using technology and turn human beings into transhuman beings, so to disconnect us from the heart completely, and that way then they can finally take control of this planet, link it up to all the other prison planets, and then have a one whole prison system.
And alter egos like Sasha Fierce demonstrates a curated mythology, while Teyana Taylor's intensely physical choreography shows mastery of body and craft. In both cases, technology, staging, and media work together to amplify the performer's influence. What some call mind control is often the orchestration of spectacle, emotion, and algorithmic distribution. In Metropolis, the robot Maria manipulates the workers into chaos. Today, digital platforms, branding, and algorithmic thieves guide attention and shape behavior. This connects directly to transhumanism, the merging of humans and machines. Maria was a prophetic image of the artificial human, a copy designed to replace the authentic. In our era, we have virtual avatars, holograms, and AI-generated identities that extend artists beyond their physical bodies. Performers can now exist simultaneously in multiple forms: the human, the staged persona, the digital avatar. The deeper question is, who programs the machine? In Metropolis, elites controlled the robot to direct the crowd. In our world, corporations, platforms, and MC algorithms often control cultural machines. Yet, artists like Beyoncé and Teyana Taylor also reclaim technology to tell empowering stories, center marginalized voices, and resist manipulation. Maria remains a mirror and a warning. She forces us to ask, can spectacle be used for liberation instead of control? Can transhumanist futures enhance human dignity rather than erode it? The line between authentic and artificial is blurring. What remains constant is the human need for meaning and the responsibility to use technology wisely.
Seems as if alluring is catchy, is trendy, especially when a lot of these concert goers or people that participate with these particular artists, they are, playing up the aesthetic of futurism. But there's a much deep, darker, sinister undertone that's happening. And so when we see what is the similarities between Metropolis as what is going on right now, the comparison is a literal copy and paste. The control over the youth, the control over men and women, these things play into a lot of the dysfunction, the chaos that we're seeing in society. And furthermore, when we see that there is this normalization of becoming like AI, becoming like robots, becoming like clones, all of this plays into being controlled, being manipulated. And furthermore, the things that we are being controlled and manipulated to have a catchy tune. It has a sense of entertainment throughout this whole thing. And so as we begin to see the truth being revealed, more and more people are becoming aware, but at the same time, it's not enough. There's a lot of people that think that this is just entertainment, that it is just creativity, when truly this is a part of the occultic hidden hands that play into not only control and domination, but play into putting us in a position of being basically sacrifice in but so many terms, okay? Because again, to think that these people that are literally clones, that are literally bots, they think that they have any free agency to do the things that they do not. Even when it comes to some of these people, it doesn't even seem like their soul is even present within their vessel. It seems like they are hollow at this point. And, the truth is yet to be revealed in regard to that. But there is not a coincidence that they are putting on this fembot cyborg type of get up. This also reminds me of the Borg Queen, because the Borg Queen would say things like resistance is futile, and she used her sensuality in order to control, who she wanted to take over, like taking over data and the Star Trek. So a lot of these things that seem that they are just a play on aesthetic, there is other things that are involved. So feel free to like and subscribe. Also, leave your comments in the section below. We're going to get further into this topic because it's happening more and more as time goes by. We're seeing the huge push of transhumanism, and again, even a lot of these concert goers, they don a similar type of aesthetic of wearing silver or chrome or metallics to look like they are robots themselves.